Hello, folks. Today there's something that has really been on my mind, and I just want to drop a little teaser, or rather, some thoughts which I would like you to ponder on, think about. And it's all about heaven. I don't know how many of us, especially as Christians, have really taken out time to think about heaven and how it's going to be there. I remember way back when I was a lot younger, I used to be like, what's the big deal about heaven? What's about this heaven, anyways? Because as far as I was concerned, when I looked at a lot of Christians and the way they lived their lives, I thought heaven, God was just a boring God, and then heaven was just going to be so boring, especially when they were like, we're just going to be praising God 247. And I was like, yeah, I enjoy praising God, I enjoy the singing and all of that. But no matter how much you enjoy something, doing it consistently, persistently, 247 without any breathing space is going to be tiring. There must be something else someone can do, for fun. If that's all that heaven is going to be about, then I wasn't really sure if I wanted to be there for eternity, just praising God. But then in about 10 or 12 years ago, my mom gave me a book, Heaven is So Real. And I looked at the book and I was like, it was something you couldn't really discuss with anybody. How do you tell someone that you love God, you want to serve Him, but you're not really thrilled about going to heaven? You're just there. So I just kept it to myself. I think the first person or only person I have shared this concern of mine with before this video, has been my husband. I was like, but I didn't read the book. It took me like close to 10 years to eventually read the book, but somehow I couldn't do away with the book. I just kept it and I was going about with it. Eventually, I read that book and I was like, wow, it was an eye-opener for me to see that heaven is not just some boring place that we would go and just be singing day and night. And it really opened my eyes to see this God and coming into a personal relationship with Him. I have understood that God is not boring. In fact, God is like the most interesting character. God is like the most interesting person you could ever meet in your life. God is not boring at all. In fact, you don't even need to just look at the world. Look at the earth, look at the creation, look at everything around you. You would see that God is just interesting. God is something else, and it really opened my eyes to see that God doesn't just want, He wants us to worship Him, He wants us to do all of that, but He wants us to enjoy Him. He wants us to enjoy life. You remember the Lord's Prayer? He says that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And the Bible talks about us being created in the image and likeness of God. Meaning that no matter how different we look, no matter how different we appear and all of that, we look like God. What we see here is just but a reflection of what is in heaven. And God really wants that His will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That is His desire, meaning that I should begin to enjoy the benefits, of that relationship with the creator of the universe right on earth here, and till I get to heaven. I was listening to a message recently and the guy was talking about how he was telling someone that if he doesn't want to talk about prosperity, then he really doesn't want to be in heaven, because the scripture says, in my Father's house, Jesus was saying, there are many mansions, and mansions are big. Mansions are huge. I don't know if you've ever seen a small mansion. Mansions are mansions, So if God is saying that, if God is all that we say he is, all that his word says he is, all that he says he is, heaven is something. Heaven is a place that we should all be looking forward to going. And then I have realized that you really can't understand the concept of heaven or an explosive, intimate relationship with God if you don't know and trust God. For those of you who do not know God, for those of you who do not have a relationship with God, you are missing. Like, there is nothing that can happen. There is nothing on this earth that even begins to come close to the experience that you have when you have a one-on-one relationship with God. There is nothing. And in fact, I haven't started. Let me not even say I haven't started, but there is so much in God that if each and every human being on earth enters into a living relationship with God, has a one-on-one encounter with God, it doesn't even, all those encounters joined together, does not even begin to describe God. They don't even pinch, on who God is. Heaven and earth, God's purpose, God's plans for you, for me. I really want you to think about it. As a Christian, I really want you to think about it. What God's plans and purposes for you and for I are, and for me are in heaven, and what his purpose and plans are for us here on earth. Are we just supposed to be like this poverty-stricken beggars here on earth and then go to heaven and begin to live in mansions? So the mansions and all of that, is that how it's supposed to be? Or is there something that we are supposed to enjoy here and transition into heaven? Think about it.